Max looks adorable.
Oh my goodness, here's a dog, this pirate.
Yep.
So cute, guys. Three guys sitting there. Inside? Outside?
Inside.
Yeah.
He is a service dog. Yeah, I put his patch on him because it's Velcro, but he had to dress up.
No worries.
Yeah, he's legit.
Yeah. I just didn't put
You'll
his...
forget he's here, trust me. Like,
Literally.
So I'm gonna, it's like I have another service dog here right now, so I'm gonna put you guys on the opposite side of the restaurant in the corner. If that's okay.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
I'll go right here.
With me? This is the first time we've been in a restaurant with another service dog around. That's never happened.
I don't.
yeah, well, it shouldn't matter. We went to Disney World yesterday.
Yeah, like, you don't have to-
Oh,
so it's good?
Yeah, service dogs are trained. Yeah, they're trained to
there's no
ignore each
seats over
other.
there anyways, but
No,
you
yeah,
guys
fine. We're fine.
Can we do one of the smaller ones?
yeah, if you guys want to take either one of these?
Yeah.
Or if you want to take the one in the corner right here, either one.
Can I do that corner table? I like kind of how the wall is at the back. Okay. It makes me feel a little better.
No worries at all.
Because I can sit like right here and like I can see everything. And it doesn't freak me out as bad like worrying about people behind me and stuff. And it's small, so.
You gotta grab some friends.
Under?
He eats
Well,
them.
let me unflip you.
It's just trouble when he sees them.
Under.
Thank you for saying.
Turn around. Halloween, yay! Happy Halloween! Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Everybody on the water!
You think about doing it for one?
That's not a service dog. Yeah, that's not a service dog.
Remember, we're trying to have a good time.
Oh, I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna ask a question. Ma'am. Halloween, yay! Happy Halloween! Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Everybody on the water!
You think about doing it for one?
That's not a service dog. Yeah, that's not a service dog.
Remember, we're trying to have a good time.
Oh, I'm just gonna stop. I'm just gonna ask a question. Ma'am. Ma'am. Is that a service dog? What is its task? Emotional support is not a service dog. I actually have my service dog under the table right now for medical issues. That is an emotional support animal, not a service dog. They don't have public access, and you passing it off as a service dog is actually illegal, and you can go to jail for it. Oh, I have a GoPro. I have a YouTube. This is part of my thing. I actually educate the public about service animals.
Explain it, I'm sorry I didn't hear.
Yeah, no, the part of my job is that explaining people like education and explaining people. I actually have a channel at Service Dog Paws, and a part of my thing is explaining to the general public and all things like that about service animals. If y'all don't want me posted, you know, y'all can say something, right? If y'all don't want, y'all don't mind.
What?
That I'm videoing at all. Y'all don't mind that, because I was videoing him and then I saw y'all come up, so I was already videoing. But
It must have been Halloween.
it is. But yeah, my service animal, he's actually under the table. He's actually dressed up right now for Halloween. But you said her task was emotional support. That's not a task. It's actually an emotional support animal, and they do not have public access, right? No. Emotional support animals, so basically the difference between a service dog and an emotional support animal. service animals are trained specifically to perform tasks. So like if you have anxiety and if it's debilitating and it is problematic enough to where you can't function outside of your home and go about your daily life without, I actually have PTSD along with medical issues. So he alerts to my medical problems, but he also is task, right, yeah, he's task trained to assist me with my anxiety. So emotional support, basically holding them and them being around you, that makes you feel good. But that's not a service animal. They have to actually be trained to respond to you and actually be like task trained to perform a task to help you, like when your anxiety is starting, to let you know that your anxiety is starting, and then be trained specifically to respond to it every single time. So it's not just like a hit or miss, like, oh, well, they might make me feel better and they might crawl on my lap. It's actually got to be something they're specifically trained to do. And if like saying it's a service animal and it's an emotional support animal, it's actually legal and you can go to jail for it. It's actually, you can face a fine and go to jail because it's misrepresenting doctor's notes. So like emotional support animals with the doctor's notes, that'll help you when like you live in housing, and if they don't allow pets, your animal's still allowed to live in pet or in no pet housing and go on like airplanes, and it can ride in the cabin of a plane with you for free. But as far as going into the general,
See, my son has one because he did 2 tours.
yeah, so he has a PTSD service dog, right? Yes. So, but and it's probably task trained and things like that, right?
He does his because he did what, 10 years. He was
Right. Was it an organization dog or?
it's a big dog.
But was it trained by like a program?
I don't know.
You don't know. Well, that it might be something y'all might kind of be just confused because a lot of people aren't aware that emotional support animals and service dogs, they aren't aware of the differences. And so like the big issue is that when it comes down to it, emotional support animals don't have to be trained, and service dogs are. So like I don't know, like Right, and I can't blame y'all. Y'all may not know, and that's like the whole point of my YouTube channel is to help educate people because a lot of people don't know. So like, who's to say like if she saw my service animal, she might start barking or pulling. Well, you never know. She may not. But the thing is like, if she did, it would actually be distracting a service animal, and distracting a service animal is also illegal. And so if y'all were to get her task trained, if she's well behaved, and another thing, like always under the table, it's 4 on the floor. She should actually be walking right now. You shouldn't be carrying her. She should be on the floor walking. If y'all can get her task trained, like when you're in, so you have anxiety, right? Do you ever scratch or your leg shakes or you hyperventilate? What you should do is task train her. And so an easy way to do that, and again, my channel Service Dog Pause, I have a couple of videos from a couple months back. It's Service Dog Pause. It's on YouTube. I have some videos a couple months back explaining like how to try, like kind of go into how to train them. So like if you have anxiety, for her to be a service animal and to be able to assist you with it, she has to be trained to do it. So if like you scratch, teaching, like if she knows high five, you can use that. It's a paw. For him, I didn't teach him high five. I used the command paw just because I don't want it to seem like it's a playing thing or just like a trait. I wanted it to be, like a task. So I just told him paw. And so what I would do is I would scratch my arm and I'd say paw, and I'd put my hand out, he'd paw, I'd give him a treat. And I'd scratch again, I'd say paw, he'd give me his paw, I'd give him a treat. And eventually I stopped moving my hand off and I'd scratch, and I'd say paw, and he'd hit my hand because my hand was on my arm. I weaned my hand out and I'd scratch, and he would start pawing my arm. Same thing with my leg shaking. I would shake my leg and I would do the same thing. He would start pawing my leg. And so the hyperventilating, the same thing, just over dramatizing it, to teach them that, they need to respond to it, give them their command. And it's literally something over a period of weeks, she'll start to catch on if you do it every day. And the only thing is that it is illegal. As of right now, she's just an emotional support animal. She cannot go into the public with you. Pet stores and things like that is fine, but just the general public or where no pets are allowed, you can't, if someone wants to find out or if there was an officer or if something ever happened. Let's just say, because she's not trained like a service animal is, if something happened and she distracted the service animal, and like let's say for example she distracted him and he missed an alert, you could go to jail because you brought your pet into a place, it wasn't trained, he missed an alert, I got hurt from. Does that make sense? All right. If y'all have any other questions, like service dog pause, Yeah, and if y'all have any other questions, feel free to ask. But he's 1.5 years. But yeah, I definitely say if y'all find my channel, if y'all go back a couple months, I have, she would be what is called a psychiatric service dog. And so if you go back through my videos, or if you type in psychiatric service dog on my channel, it should pull up the training and you'll see it. But it's literally, it's repetition, teaching her your anxiety, I call them anxiety tics, teaching her to respond to them, because the service dog is an animal that is trained to respond and alert. So teaching her to alert to you, letting you know that, hey, your anxiety is acting up. And that way you know, because for me, I don't always realize it until like after it started. Right, and that's my issue with my anxiety, with my PTSD. And so him knowing my tics and my little things that I do, yeah, he's able to let me know. And then deep pressure therapy, it's where you teach her to lay on your lap, and the pressure on your legs, it'll actually help calm you down. And so teaching her deep pressure therapy, right, or just like when she alerts to your anxiety in general. And the big thing is just making sure that her basic obedience, she sits, she lays down, she's not barking, she's not pooping. If you want to bring her out and if you want her to be a service animal, she needs to be trained like a service animal. It's so absolutely perfect, you know, not bad with kids or anything. And I would definitely hold off on letting other people interact with her when y'all go out, and not letting other people mess with them, because a service animal, they need to be solely focused on their owner, to pay attention to their owner like all the time. And so if y'all gonna bring her out, I wouldn't, I just like, no, she's working right now, please don't. You know, she's a service dog in training. So I would start saying that she's a service dog in training, and start trying to train her that y'all would have legal, you would legally be able to bring her in if she started task training, and y'all start teaching her tasks. You would never have to worry about going in somewhere and her being an emotional support animal and going to jail for it or getting a fine, because I think the fine can go up to $1,000 for it. Or if someone gets in trouble, like if she was distracting another service dog and the handler got hurt, I'm going to jail for it. So if y'all start actually training her to alert and to perform tasks, that would help, and she would be a service dog in training. And that way y'all are, you know, legally y'all are protected, but she's also actually doing something to help you instead of like you just holding her. And just like I said, make sure she's good at all times, she's focused on you. I think teaching a focus command, if he has one, is a good idea. And you just get treats, and the easiest way to do it is take a treat, bring it up to your eyes and say like, watch me, or focus, and do it over and over. Like let her sniff it, bring it up to your eyes and say, watch me, or focus. And as soon as she makes eye contact, say yes, and give her the treat. And do it over and over and over. That way when you're out in public, and like if she's over staring off on something else and not paying attention, you can say, hey, watch me. She's looking at you, be like, what? But then her focus is turned back on you. Right. So I hope that helps. I hope like I didn't bother y'all too much trying to talk to you. Yeah, absolutely. And it is. But I enjoy educating when I can and helping people that actually need it. Because I mean, if you do have any,
Calls are you taking, babe?
I've only got one right here.
Yeah, babe, how many calls are you taking?
Hey, when you have dogs come in, you need just to help. I'm gonna help protect y'all legally, and I'll explain more in a second. So when a dog comes in, you need to be asking, is it a service dog required for a disability, and what task is it trained to perform? When they went to walk out, I saw that she was carrying the dog. Service dogs are not carried. There are 4 on the floor at all times walking. And I said, hey, is that a service dog? And she said, yeah. I said, well, what's its task? You know, because at that point I was like, curious. I was like, well, why are you carrying your dog? And she said emotional support. That was an emotional support animal. It was not a service dog. So that animal had no rights to be in here at all.
Health department actually doesn't.
Yeah, health department. If health department would have come in and would have asked those questions and it said emotional support, y'all could have actually gotten in trouble. Aside from that, if the dog would have been in here, and like let's say I had to walk to the restroom, and I don't know where the restroom is, but let's just say the restroom was right past their table. If their dog would have seen him and would have started barking, and he missed an alert because their dog was distracting him, they could go to jail or face a fine for it. But y'all could face a fine as well, because y'all allowed an animal in that wasn't a service dog, and then that animal distracted a service dog.
Pet friendly.
Right.
If you're on a pet-friendly place, then it's like,
Yeah,
well,
to
the
protect
service dog
y'all.
handler has to realize that the pet-friendly place accidents happen.
And those are the 2 legal questions you can ask anyway. And it's not just, is it a service dog? To kind of prevent like those fakes coming in, asking specifically, is it a service dog required for a disability, is going to be more specific, and you'll be able to normally wean out like the fakes a little bit. And some people are like, oh, well, I mean, it's just emotional support. You'd be like, nope, that's an emotional support animal, not a service dog. They don't have public access. And I sat here and I talked to them for a minute. I kind of explained the laws. They actually genuinely thought that it was allowed to go in public with them.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
Yeah, and I just explained it to them. I explained, why they're not allowed, because emotional support animals, they don't have to be trained. And they're literally, it's like people hold them and just makes them feel better. She genuinely does have anxiety issues that she does qualify for a service dog. And I told them, I was like, it's the dogs all around. I kind of explained to them how they could go about training the dog to be a service dog. But as of right now, the dog doesn't have public access, right?
I didn't know the difference, you guys.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. The dog the dog, she never saw Max. I don't know what she would have done if he did, but it didn't affect Max. That's fine. I just want y'all to know for like in the future, because I want y'all to be able to be protected, because service dog handlers, when it comes to that, a lot of them, like sometimes I can get kind of mad too, depending on like the situation, but a lot of handlers are very mean, very nasty. Like they'll snap, they'll walk, especially if something happens. The big issue is that emotional support animals and pets, they're not trained. And the biggest issue is that they attack legitimate service dogs a lot. And our service dogs either have to go through a long rehabilitation phase and we can't use them for weeks to months. And sometimes if they get attacked, they're so traumatized they can never work again. And so then we lose out on like the medical equipment. I mean, that's what they are, medical equipment. Of course, we love them way more than medical equipment. They're family. But asking, is it a service dog required for a disability, and what task is it trained to perform? Like if they say yes, then asking what task is it trained to perform.
Is there something that they can show? I mean,
No,
this is the
no.
first time we like.
Yeah, no, there's no IDs.
Okay.
If anyone comes in, it's like, oh, well, here's the ID. IDs are actually fake, and you can actually tell them that's a fake ID. That is not legitimate. That's not real.
Yeah,
is it a
you'll see-
service?
There's just no
Yeah, there's no federal recognized.
Yeah, it's in the office.
Yeah, there's no federal recognized registry or certification. So like you can own or train your service dog. That's actually what he is. He's owner
But
trained.
there are still a lot of actual true service dog handlers that do have
Some of them
certificates
do.
and IDs from like when they get trained by
Yes.
the places you go spend $20,000
Like
on service
programs
dog.
will give them a certificate,
they
and
cost a lot.
sometimes
20 grand for service?
20 to 60. And that's why a lot of owners that need service dogs are opting out to train their own.
Okay.
And then they still have to meet they still have to meet the same standards as a program dog would. But yeah, if someone comes in, they're like, oh, well, this is my ID or this is my certificate. Because I do know of some legitimate service dog handlers that have real service dogs that get programs that actually carry their certificate around. You legally, no one can ask you for it. You can actually get fined and get in a lot of trouble for asking for any kind of paperwork.
I gotta get
Yeah,
educated on the
the
law.
only things you can ask legally is if it's a service dog required for a disability, what task is it trained for. You can't ask anything else.
As long
If
as,
someone,
as long as they don't say it's an ESA, an emotional support dog. Now there is a difference between like just an ESA and an emotional support service dog. Because some people do have,
ESA and emotional support are the same thing.
I know, I'm just saying there is service dogs that are there for emotional support, but to a point
Well,
where,
it's psychiatric service dogs.
yeah, they're psychiatric. And
They're
it's
trained, it's like
if you-
PTSD, like
Yeah.
veterans you see with PTSD dogs, those are psychiatric service dogs. So people that have debilitating anxiety, he is task trained for my PTSD, but he's used mostly for my medical.
Okay.
And so there are some psychiatric service dogs for medical or for mental psychiatric needs. But if they come in and they have an ID or certificate, just say, nope, we can't require that. Or if they show you an ID with the dog's name and a picture on it, say, those are fake.
Showed me that before.
Yeah, say, nope, that's fake, that's not real. Is it a service dog required for a disability? And then depending on how they answer that question, you'll know if they're real or fake. Because if they're real, they're gonna say yes. And when you say, well, what is it, what task is it trained to perform? If you were to ask me those two questions right now, I would say, yes, he is a service dog required for a disability, or I would just say yes, and he's task trained or he's medical. and his tasks are medical related. That is what my answer would be. So someone else, they might say medical, they might say blood sugar, they might say PTSD response, but it's actual task. I can't talk right now, gosh. But then for people that normally just have pets or fakes, I'm like, oh, well, it's not required for disability, it's just emotional support. Or it's task, it's emotional support. At some point, those fakes, they're gonna say emotional support most of the time. And so then you're like, nope, sorry, they don't have public access, they can't come into the building, I'm sorry, please, come back later when you don't have your dog. And as far as that goes, if someone says, oh yeah, it is a service dog required for disability and it's medical, let's say he's a legitimate service dog, and let's say with him being a legitimate service dog, if I was in here, he started barking and I could not get him under control, and if he was being disruptive in any way, you could actually legally ask me to leave because he wasn't listening, he wasn't behaving appropriately. Like I'm not holding his leash, he's under the table laying down like he should be. Right, that's how they're supposed to be.
Like I said, if you wouldn't have been the one to bring us to the table and you never saw him, you wouldn't know he's in here, would you?
No, man, he's cool.
Yeah, that's how they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be, if they're seen, they're not supposed to be heard. And if you're in a restaurant and no one else knows that you're there with your dog, unless they look under the table and just happen to see a glimpse of them, they shouldn't see them. They should be bouncing around and moving around. So if they're not behaving perfectly, if they're pulling at the end of the leash, now some dogs are used for mobility, so if someone's holding a handle and the dog's pulling them, that's different. But if the dog's just pulling way behind them and the people are dragging them, or the dog's pooping and peeing, or it's just not listening and it's just not acting perfect, and the owner's not doing anything, you can ask them to leave because their dog's being disruptive. Even if it's a service dog in training or a service dog, if they're not behaving right, you can ask them to leave. And so, yeah, the two big things you need to remember is that a service dog required for a disability. Right, yes, for a disability. Make sure to ask that because that's going to mean a lot of people. Normally when you say for a disability, people are like, oh, emotional support. And because when I asked that, is it a service dog, she said yes. I didn't ask her if it was for a disability because at that point I already knew it was fake. That was the first thing I said. I was like, that's not a service dog, because the dog was whipping its head back and forth. When she was walking, she was carrying it. Service dogs aren't carried, they walk on the floor like they're supposed to. And so every now and then you'll have a legitimate service dog where the owner does carry them, like if they're small breeds. Sometimes the owners will have a sling, but they should never be in a buggy or like a shopping cart. They should never be in those. Like sometimes the owners will have them in a sling. That way, because it's a small breed, like diabetes or something, they have to smell your breath. It's easier for them to smell those cortisone levels coming off your breath when they're closer to you. So sometimes you'll see that, but if you do, they're not going to be whipping its head back and forth, or kind of looking crazy like that one did. So I already knew it wasn't a service dog when I asked. That's why I was like, that's not a service dog.
I know next time now.
Yeah.
Ask those two questions.
Yes, and that
service dog for disability.
But hey, I will say
Yes.
this is important to know those aspects. I work for Publix. Obviously, you know what that is.
Yes.
Being down here, we're from Bama, but I know Publix actually only asks, is it a service dog? And there are issues with that, in my opinion, 'cause my wife has one. Because people can pass off, like she just said.
she's like, yeah, it's a service
check
dog.
with Joe's policy on it to make sure so you're not getting in trouble on your business standpoint.
Yeah, because some companies won't allow you to ask two questions. Some
Publix
companies
doesn't want you to do that, Publix, because they don't want to risk
Losing a guest.
not even just losing a guest. I mean, Publix is a multi-million-dollar corporation. Someone can take one person take a service dog, losing them isn't going to hurt them.
Unless that service dog distracts, or unless that fake service dog distracts a real legitimate service dog. But there is risk.
They're losing. No, the point is to it is they're worried about legal people trying to pass off their service dog in an ESA. Then those people not knowing the laws like that lady did. Then trying to go at Publix with a lawsuit, then y'all,
I mean, legally they couldn't though, because they have no rights to stand on.
At this point, Joe's Craft Jack is at this point spending money on a lawyer, trying to say, hey, that we have the right to
for no reason.
It's a back and forth thing. Every company has their own aspects on it, so just check in with, you know, your
Make sure they'll
corporate,
let
your
you ask
district.
the
What
two
is our
questions.
policy on this? What can we ask? How do we know? And that's,
Yeah, I'm
that's what
definitely
we're
gonna do
going
some
with.
research on it. I appreciate the knowledge you guys.
Yeah,
no problem.
absolutely. And in either case, even if you can't ask both questions, if the dog is not acting perfect and if it is not acting like a service dog should, I mean, you haven't really
Well,
seen
it's
a
like-
service dog probably. Like him, he's being very quiet. I'm not holding his leash. I'm not carrying him. Yeah, I haven't carried him. You know, when I was walking in, he stayed by my side. You know, when I told him to say hi, you know, and I gave him his say hi command, he said hi to, like, when she took the pictures, you know. That's different. If the dog is listening, then you should have fair grounds that, you know, that probably is either a service dog in training or legitimate, fully trained service dog. He's still in training, but he's actually only been training for 6 months. He's doing fantastic. Yeah, he's absolutely.
He conquered Disney World yesterday.
Yeah, Disney is like the biggest thing for service dogs. When you know your service dog is like getting towards the end of its training, you bring them to Disney and you see how they handle it. And he conquered.
So much going on.
Yes, he conquered a 10-hour Disney trip yesterday. I only expected him to handle like 2 hours, and then I figured he'd hit his breaking point, wouldn't be able to handle it. He's only been training for 6 months. He was a shelter rescue, and so the fact that he handled that, service dog can take anywhere from a year to 2 years to train, depending on the dog and what you're training them for. He should not be where he's at 6 months of training. There's no reason why he is, except for the fact that he's just doing that good. But if they're not behaving, and for whatever reason you feel like the dog's not behaving appropriately or it's becoming a distraction, you can ask them to leave. That is something all company policies, I'm pretty sure, cover that. Like if the dog's not, you know, causing a disruption or not behaving right, y'all can ask them to leave. So if worse comes to worse and they don't allow you to ask both questions, you know, if the dog's not behaving right, or, you know, if they're carrying the dog, you can even say something like, can you put your dog down? Service dogs walk on the ground, they don't be carried. You know, you don't have to do that, because like I said, sometimes, you know, they are carried, you know, but like if the dog's just not behaving, and if you just think that, you know, if the dog's like freaking out, like whipping its head around, just not like calm, and you think, well, I want to see how the dog acts when it's on the ground to see if it's really a service dog, you could ask, would you mind putting the dog on the ground and just walking it through the restaurant instead of carrying it? And then seeing how it reacts when it hits the ground. And if the dog's all over the place, you'll know, like, actually, I'm sorry, your dog's not behaving appropriately. It's not behaving like a service dog should. Would you mind, if you can't get your dog under control, would you mind taking it out? And just like giving them that chance to be like, take a moment, try to get your dog under control. But if you can't get it under control, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Even that might help. So it really just comes down what y'all can. I hope that y'all can ask both questions, because if y'all can, that's gonna help a lot.
I'll find out. I appreciate the knowledge, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get online, like get on Google, and if you type in ADA service dog laws, because it's the ADA that covers service dogs. So if you type in ADA service dog laws, it'll pull up all the information you need to know about service dogs. It'll pull up like frequently asked questions.
You should really just have to go to, what, it's ada.org, I believe.
Yeah, it is. It's ADA. Well, it's easier to find it if you type in ADA service dog laws. It's easier to find the specific area. But when you type that in, if you scroll down, you'll see like frequently asked questions about service dogs.
As long as whenever you type that in Google, the one you click on,
It's ADA.org.
ADA.org.
Yeah. And they have tons of questions on there, like to help you figure out exactly what you can and can't do. It is .org. .gov.
.gov. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it because government. .government.
Yeah, .gov.
.gov.
Oh well. But
My bad.
I hope that helps, because like I would hate for something to happen, you not know the difference, or you know, the company not know,
Right
in
now
like
it's
a
present.
situation like this. You're not always gonna have a legitimate service dog come in with another, you know, like someone else trying to pass them off. It will happen from time to time. Like I said, this is the first time we've ever been in a restaurant with another, like I said, another service dog. That's what I was like, I was so excited. I was like, really weird, because that was the first time it had happened. And so it's not always gonna happen, but you do have to be careful, because if you have another service dog come in, or like let's say we had been here and they came in and they walked past us and they saw him, you know, the chance for our service dogs, because they are service dogs, yes, they are trained to ignore, they are trained to behave, but they're still animals. So like they can still get distracted, and if something happens and y'all let someone in who does not have a legitimate service dog and their animal distracts our service dogs, it could end up in a lawsuit for the company, just because y'all, even though y'all may not have known, it's like it comes down to y'all should
I
have.
think he's been educated enough. When you told him
Sorry, I'm sorry. I talk a lot.
Cool.
I'm passionate about it. I really am.
Appreciate it. I really do. I didn't know. Now I know.
Yeah.
Her food is this point probably ice cold, so I just wanted to
Well, I
eat.
wasn't gonna be able to eat until I talked. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to eat until they were
I
talking.
can reheat it for you if you want.
It's alright. I'm sure it'll be
Sure, if you
fine.
change your mind, let the server know, let Jordan know, and I'll get it reheated.
All right. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that helps.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my god, my anxiety is still so bad. Like I can't stop shaking. The entire time I was talking to them, this is what he was doing. Cause like my legs are shaking too. I don't know if y'all can see that. My anxiety is so bad. I was like, I'm trying my best to do better about educating people and really helping people like understand the laws. I can't eat at the moment. I need to talk because my anxiety is so really bad. Hang on. But she genuinely didn't know. She really thought that meant that, you know, her dog was able to come out, that, you know, being an emotional support animal, that meant it was a service dog and it could come in public. She really thought that's what it was. And, you know, I explained to them she does really need a service dog. Her anxiety is, in a way, debilitating, and it is hard for her to go out by herself. And so that would qualify her for a service dog. And, you know, I explained to her, you know, how they could go about training the dog and seeing if it would work. Chase, are you freaking kidding me? I explained how they could go about training it
That
to
was
see.
great.
Do I need dessert today?
She still hasn't even finished her food.
I want that campfire s'mores.
Or if you want me to wait till you finish a little more?
Please.
You can go ahead and put it in a go box and bring it to me.
Okay, do you want us to heat it up?
It's a hot thing?
Yes.
Do you want to do that?
Just bring it to me. I'll eat it now. I can bring this home. I'm gonna eat it now, but yeah, bring it to me, please.
So you want me to bring
Yeah,
it
just
for
go ahead and bring it to me. Yeah. But I tried. I did, and like my anxiety is upsetting me because like it's hard to like talk to people and like try to explain things. I'm trying to be better, and I feel like I am getting better about it. But it is nerve-wracking trying to explain things to people and hoping that they understand and hoping that they get it. They seem to understand. They really did, and you know, that's all I can ask for is that, you know, when I try to educate someone, that they really do understand, that they get it, and that they take something from it. And, you know, I explained to them how they could actually train the dog to respond to her anxieties where it would be task trained. And, you know, it's just, I hope that helps, and it's just, I don't know. I'm still so shaky. Chase. It's so bad. But, anyway, happy Halloween, everybody. You say happy Halloween? Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween, Max. Happy Halloween.
No, sit. Sit. Don't give me